All right, we'll start with the one secret audio recording heard around the newsrooms all around the country. Conspiracy TV, MSNBC, and CNN, and all the likes of them. Private conversation recorded between Michael Cohen and his client Donald Trump. Last night it was released by Cohen's attorney, Lanny Davis. In spite of all the breathlessness in the reporting, the tape is A, ambiguous, kind of hard to hear, reveals no groundbreaking new information. Let's just play it for you ourselves.
I need to open up a company for the transfer of all of that info regarding our friend David, so that I'm going to do that right away. I've actually come up and I've spoken to Alan Weisselberg about how to set the whole thing up with
So what are we going to pay?
Funding. Yes. And it's all the stuff, because you never know where that company, you never know where he's going to be. Correct. So I'm all over that, and I spoke to Alan about it when it comes time for the financing, which will be.
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you. So
I'll pay for cash.
No. I got no.
What you just heard amounts to nothing. It never happened. The contents of that tape provide literally no new information. Zero significance here, no criminal law in question, and what you just witnessed is something that occurs every single day at every major company in the country. Crisis management to protect a brand's image and reputation. In this case, it's the Trump Organization. But over on the Destroy Trump media, this was, once again, a daily, earth-shattering scandal that's going to bring down the president. Except it's not. Take a look.
We now have a secret audio recording that apparently shows Donald Trump discussing payments to bury a story about an alleged affair with a Playboy playmate. And the timing here is everything. The payments were discussed just before he won the election. Think about that.
There may be other issues here. There may be bank fraud, tax fraud, money laundering issues with the way they structured the payments. Those kinds of issues in the end could be more dangerous and damaging than the campaign finance issue.
I think it's a very embarrassing and humiliating tape for the president. And I think, ironically, Giuliani says, I can understand what's on this tape because I've listened to mob tapes. You know what? The president is similar to a mob tape.
If you listen to this, again, it sounds like this is the weekly or the monthly Michael's here to figure out what we have to cover up meeting.
Now, these are the same people now who literally peddle day after day, crisis after crisis. It's like 24/7. The same people who were pushing impeachment even before the president took office. The same people who were predicting the end of days, or at least the end of Trump, ever since he descended from that escalator in Trump Tower in 2015 and announced his candidacy to be the president. The same people who have literally gone through 3 major crises this week alone. Now, in order to show you how the mainstream corrupt media has literally turned into a real-life version of Chicken Little, we put together what we're calling a mega montage of some of the worst moments. But get ready, because the sky is falling every second of the day. Watch.
You better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next.
I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on.
Sorry, I understand why so many people voted for him. I understand where you were coming from. I understand why you liked him. But this man is lying to you.
Donald Trump is a president with whom there is grave question about his fitness and ability to conduct the office of the presidency.
I'll say it again. This Russian connection just keeps building, and every time it builds and expands, you have to wonder if Trump himself isn't worried about what's swirling around under the covers.
The entire world's watching, and of course, most importantly, Vladimir Putin's watching. It seemed like yesterday was his love note to Vladimir Putin.
It is certainly an unusual speech, a weird speech, Rocket Man insulting Kim Jong-un.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Of course I want to punch him in the face.
Right.
16 tweets today to start the new year, some of them deeply disturbing. These are the messages from a person who is not well.
He said he's an excellent help. I mean, Sanjay Gupta came out and was like, not so sure about excellent help.
President Trump is goading Kim Jong-un to test a nuclear missile again to prove its reliability, to show him wrong.
The Stormy saga takes a dramatic turn as the porn star speaks out on her alleged affair with citizen Trump.
Stormy Daniels is lawyer. We haven't heard from him about the Stormy Daniels affair.
Guess he's a holer.
Is there a difference if the president said hole or house? I want to read the definition of treason.
This was nothing short of treasonous. The idea that the president would be revoking security clearance, not based on wrongdoing, just based on words, is shameful.
With any previous president, if you'd woken up to this all-caps tweet threatening war with Iran, you'd think he probably belongs in a padded cell. But with Trump, this is kind of business as normal.
Just a tiny sampling. This is literally now every minute, every hour of every day. The media, their friends on the left, 3 years of running, obsessing over the crisis of the second, totally ignoring the biggest issues that we, the people, are facing in this country, and ignoring the massive success out of the Trump administration. And if they can't weaponize the story against President Trump, they don't really seem interested at all in covering it. News is non-existent in this country on these so-called news channels. Right here on this show, we have been sounding the alarm about the serious corruption, real abuse of power, a real Russia scandal at the highest levels of the DOJ and the FBI. Over at the Destroy Trump media, crickets. Now, naturally, the media goes to great lengths to avoid talking about all the positive developments surrounding the country and the Trump administration. They don't want you to know about the huge successes out of the White House. For the first time in years, we'll find out Friday, America's GDP is seeing healthy, real growth. Remember, it was just a short time ago. The Obama administration wanted Americans to accept our so-called new normal, like Jimmy Carter saying, wear a sweater, a pathetic growth rate of 1 or 2%. Now, according to projections, our second quarter growth should be about 4%, maybe higher. Add to that, we now have historic job growth, 2 million fewer people on food stamps. There are more jobs available than there are people on unemployment in the country. And, oh, by the way, the greatest labor participation rate in history. Wow. Good news for the forgotten men and women, the ones that voted for President Trump, even though the fix was in for Hillary. And, of course, they covered up her crimes, and then they turned their sights on Trump, and they even lied to FISA court judges. A massive accomplishment that you never hear about. And yesterday, the president tweeted this out. Our country is doing great. Best financial numbers on the planet. Great to have the USA winning again. And on Friday, we expect that full GDP report for the second quarter. We'll bring you those numbers as they become available. But tonight, we have even more positive developments that you'll never hear in the media on the economic front. After months of negotiations and fear-mongering by the media, oh, he's starting a trade war. Well, the president put fears of that war with Europe to rest as he signed off on a significantly improved trade deal for American businesses, free of tariffs, barriers, and subsidies. Here's the president explaining all of this earlier today. Let's take a look.
We agreed today, first of all, to work together towards zero tariffs, zero non-tariff barriers, and zero subsidies on non-auto industrial goods. Thank you. We will also work to reduce barriers and increase trade in services, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, medical products, as well as soybeans. Soybeans is a big deal. This will open markets for farmers and workers, increase investment, and lead to greater prosperity in both the United States and the European Union. It will also make trade fairer and more reciprocal. My favorite word, reciprocal.
Well, if you didn't negotiate, that wouldn't have happened. And the president pointed out today this deal will open markets for farmers in America, workers, increase investment, lead to greater prosperity in both the U.S. and the European Union. Win-win. Also make trade fairer and more reciprocal. His favorite word, as he said. Great news for goods, services made right here in the United States. Good for the American worker that was unemployed in the Obama years. Now, despite the constant negativity coming from so much of the media and Democrats, you think they want the economy to grow and be prosperous? No, they want their power back. More and more Americans, you're seeing the truth with your own eyes. We got a new poll out today. In spite of all the media hysteria, oh, look at the Hills poll. The president's approval rating is now higher than ever, nearly 50%. Oh, by the way, same with Gallup, same with NBC Wall Street Journal. And on the world stage, the president is also seeing progress, which is good for our kids and grandkids. The president's pick, I think an excellent choice, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, hit the ground running. He's overseeing steady, significant progress out of North Korea, China, and yeah, we're being tougher on Russia than Obama ever dreamed of, because he was sending messages, tell Vladimir I'll have more flexibility after the election. Well, today, the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, he testified on the Hill, and he explained to some of these dumb senators that the president's peace-through-strength strategy to counter the hostile actions of Vladimir Putin and the hostile regime of Russia, and what we're doing about it. Take a look.
The United States calls on Russia to respect the principles to which it has long claimed to adhere and to end its occupation of Crimea. End of quote. I want to assure this committee that the United States does not and will not recognize the Kremlin's purported annexation of Crimea. We stand together with allies, partners, and the international community in our commitment to Ukraine and its territorial integrity. There will be no relief of Crimea-related sanctions until Russia returns control of the Crimean Peninsula to Ukraine. This Crimea declaration formalizes United States policy of non-recognition.
Formalizes it. Oh, but I think there was somebody on NBC that actually suggested that the president was an agent of Russia. This is how insane so-called news has gotten. Now, the Secretary of State also helped Democratic senators that aren't really too bright, some of them, understand how under the leadership of the president, the U.S. is actually leading from the front all over the world, not from behind. And we're not going on apology tours. And we're not dropping $150 billion on the tarmac in cash and other currency to the mullahs of Iran that chant death to Israel and death to America. Take a look.
Did he tell Putin that I'll release or ultimately relax sanctions?
Senator, what you need to conduct your role, your appropriate role, I will provide you today. That is United States policy with respect to the issues you request. You asked me about U.S. policy with respect to sanctions, and I can confirm to you that no commitment has been made to change those policies in any way. Just so the facts are clear, the previous administration is the one that enabled Russia to have the capacity that they have in Syria today.
I'm not defending the previous administration, Mr. Secretary. I want this administration to continue doing what's working.
Its policy, this administration's policy. You're advocating for the continuation of this administration's policy. I think that's important for everyone to understand.
North Korea still has chemical and biological weapons and brutalizes its own people. And again, there's no verifiable evidence that North Korea is denuclearization.
Senator, we have.
So I am afraid that at this point, the United States, the Trump administration, is being taken for a ride.
Fear not, Senator. Fear not.
There's no evidence to the contrary.
Fear not, Senator.
There's no evidence.
Senator, fear not. May I?
Yes, please.
I guess you didn't ask a question, so I'll.
No, that's all right. Yeah. Again, please answer.
Fear not. This administration has taken enormously constructive actions that have put us in a place that is far better than in either of the two previous administrations, one Republican, one Democrat. We have put sanctions regime in place that is unequaled. We are continuing to enforce that sanctions regime.
No missiles fired over Japan, dismantled nuclear test site, hostages turned home. We'll have the bodies of Americans killed in that war sent back. And we're talking about denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and no bribery. Now, last but definitely not least tonight, some major breaking news out of the deep state. This is important. Moments ago, a group of 11 House Republicans have officially now introduced articles of impeachment against the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, the guy that signed the last FISA warrant, after months of obstructing what is congressional subpoenas and failing to comply with these subpoenas and inhibiting the important investigation into FISA abuse, the Russia witch hunt, and so much more. Rod Rosenstein must now be held accountable. It's called congressional government oversight. It's called checks and balances, co-equal branches of government, and yes, the United States Constitution. And it's time for Rod Rosenstein to be held accountable.